Is Indira Seja, and I'll be your moderator for this afternoon. Before we proceed, I would kindly ask everyone to please stand for a brief word of prayer. Okay, this afternoon, we would like to ask the Holy Spirit to be present with us here today. And we'd like to thank the Holy Spirit for bringing us all here, all those of us who are gathered here, bringing us together. We ask that this afternoon that the Holy Spirit gives a special pouring on each and every one of us gathered here today, and even those of us who are listening online. We ask that the Holy Spirit will enrich the participants of this debate, and that they will have the confidence, the wisdom, and the clarity that is necessary for them to give their legal arguments. We ask at the same time that those of us who are listening, that we may do so respectfully, that we may think about their different propositions with fairness, and that we may also, when it comes time to engage, that we may do so respectfully. We pray also that the debate today may be enjoyable, educational, and inspirational to all those of us who are participating and those of us who are listening. We ask this in the name of the Holy Spirit. Amen. All right, so officially, I would like to welcome everyone gathered here today. That includes our students from the various schools, parents, teachers, organizers, the media, the judges, and also the Dominica Social Security. I'm told that we have among us the Director of Social Security, the Deputy Director, as well as other representatives. And we just want to thank you. As you would have been told, those of you who were in the earlier debate, the Dominica Social Security has more or less adopted the semi-final round of the inter-secondary school debating competition, and therefore they are our main sponsors today, and we truly appreciate their contribution. As such, the question for today, the debating topic, was crafted by the Dominica Social Security, I believe, and it pertains to and relates to the Dominica Social Security. So welcome, and even those who are listening via the various social media platforms, we welcome you here today. Before we begin as you know, this is the second debate of the semi-final round of the inter-secondary schools debate for the 2025-2026 school year. Earlier, we had the first debate. I tried to follow, but I did not. I'm not sure who was the winner of the first debate. Really? The Wesley High School. Okay, so that means that the Wesley High School has moved forward to the final round. So we are here today to find out who is going to join the Wesley High School and who will be debating them in the final round. The two schools who will be debating today are the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School and the Dominica Grammar School. I will introduce the debaters a little lower down, but first, let me just introduce the debate topic, which I'm sure is somewhere. Okay, yes, okay. So the topic that will be debated today is the Dominica Social Security System should introduce an unemployment benefit even if it requires restructuring existing benefits and or contribution rates. As I said earlier, our debating schools are the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, who will be the school that is proposing the topic, and then we have the Dominica Grammar School, who will be opposing the topic. Before I go on to do the introductions, I just want to take some time to go over the general rules of the debate, the rules and regulations. Many of you will be familiar with it, but for those of you who are joining us for the first time, now the format of the debate is that the debate usually begins with a prepared speech segment. Okay, that means that the students will have prepared something in writing which they will deliberate on. As usual, the first speaker for each school will present on the topic. So we will begin with the proposing school, the first speaker of the proposing school, followed by the first speaker of the opposing school. Each of the first speakers will speak for a total of 10 minutes. Following that, we'll have the second speakers from each school, beginning, of course, with the proposing side, and followed by the second speaker of the opposing side, and they will each speak for 7 minutes. Following this prepared speech segment, we then allow or allot a 5-minute break or pause during which the students will prepare for the second part of the debate, which is the rebuttal stage. During that 5 minutes, we ask that the crowd, again, audience is respectful, and we try our best to stay as quiet as possible while the students focus and prepare their rebuttals, because unlike the prepared segment speech, they really have to speak on their feet and refute many of the points that their opponents would have raised, and so they need to focus, all right? Once the 5 minutes are up, then we move on to the second part of the debate, which is the rebuttal. And for the rebuttal, we usually have the lead speaker or the first speakers from each of the schools. Again, we will begin with the lead speaker or first speaker of the proposing school, followed by the first speaker of the opposing school. For the rebuttal, both sides are allotted 3 minutes for their rebuttal. Okay? Once those 3 minutes are up, then the official part of the debate will have concluded. At that point, we'll ask the judges to retire to a secure location where they'll make the deliberations. Usually we ask them to do so as quickly as possible, while also taking their time to deliberate and ponder on the different points that were raised. Once they return, during their absence, what we usually do is that we engage in a discussion on the debate topic, not on the debaters or their presentation, but on the topic. We then get to share our own views and opinions on the topic. But I'm told that today we might do it a little differently, since we have so many representatives from the DominicaSocial Security, and many of us are not really experts in the area. I know a little bit, but mostly from the regulatory part or the legislative part. But in terms of the practical application of the legislation, one of the representatives will be called upon to lead the discussion, but of course I will be there to engage with you as well. Okay, hopefully the judges will return in quick time, and then we will deliver the results. Okay, now I mentioned that there are officially two segments of the debate: the prepared speech and the rebuttal. Okay, so for each of them, the judges, there are different criteria and scores that will be allotted for each segment. For the prepared presentation, the criteria that the judges are looking at are soundness of points, for which a total of 35 points may be allotted; logical development, for which a total of 20 points can be allotted; audibility and clarity, and the total points for this is 15; posture and personality, total 15; command of material, total 15. So altogether, a team may garner 100 points for the prepared presentation. For the rebuttal, it's slightly different, a different criteria. The criteria for the rebuttal is, first of all, team coordination, for which a total of 10 points may be amassed. They're also looking at general analysis of the debate, for which 14 points is the maximum points that may be given. The judges will also be looking for how the students recall of points, for which a total of 10 points may be given. Also, the ability to refute those points. A total of 20 points is given for that. Also, the judges will be looking for spontaneity in the responses, and so this receives a total of 6 points. So in total, for the rebuttal, a team can receive a maximum of 60 points. All right? So this is the brief or the summary of the rules and regulations of the debate in terms of the specific rules, but in terms of the general rules, what we ask usually is that during the debate, there are no interruptions. We all have cell phones, so we ask kindly that you check your phones, make sure they're on silent, and if you're not able, or they're off. If you're not able to put them off, then make sure they're on silent. As well, something that we may note, if you have alarms like me, that may go off at different times. It doesn't matter if your phone is on silent, the alarm will still go off, so check your alarms to ensure that they do not go off during the proceedings. Apart from that, we ask that there be no, in addition to that, we ask that there may be no outbursts, emotional or otherwise, okay? Whatever opinions or feelings you may have, please try to temper them, and that you just allow the debaters to debate. We ask as much as possible that we reduce, or if we can even avoid, traffic out of the room, but of course if people have to leave, they have to leave. But you do so respectfully and as quietly as possible so as not to distract the debaters. All right, so I believe we're good on the rules and regulations, yes. In terms of the time, I spoke earlier about the time. In order for us to keep, we heard several different times, right? 10 minutes, 7 minutes, 3 minutes. In order to keep track of the time, we have with us our timekeeper, Miss Ermine Pascal, a student of the Dominica State College, who will be assisting us with that today. So she has a written notice, so when the students have 1 minute left in their presentations, she will lift the notice, and students, you're asked to raise your eye, which you should be doing anyway while you're debating, just to notice the timekeeper's time. When the time is up, there'll be another notice saying that the time is up. Okay? I believe that's it. All right, we move on to introductions, and we'll introduce our judges before we introduce the main people here today with us, who are the debaters. So in terms of the judges, we have 3 judges, as is customary. And judge number 1, Mr. David Edwards, who is no stranger to the debates, okay? And today he also serves as our chief judge. Mr. Edwards is a regional consultant on development projects and programs as well. He's also a former civil servant and a former educational leader. So let us just give Mr. Edwards a round of applause. Thank you. We also have with us judge number 2, Merita Hyacinth. Merita Hyacinth is the Chief Youth Development Officer. Previously, she held the position of Senior Programs Officer at the Ministry of Education and was an educator at the Wesley High School. She is known for her dedication to youth empowerment, leadership growth, and educational initiatives. She has also held the role of the 2024 National President of JCI West Indies, where she championed youth empowerment and drove social impact across the region. Within Dominica, her contributions extend to shaping the future of education through curriculum development and preserving the island's rich heritage. So we thank Ms. Hyacinth for her service, and we see why she would agree to volunteer time, right? Because she's a youth in the youth development empowerment personnel. We also have with us Ms. Marie-Ange Emmanuel, who is our judge number 3. Marie-Ange is an economic statistician with the Central Statistics Office. She holds a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Nottingham. Ms. Emmanuel has represented Dominica in a regional debating competition and has distinguished herself in youth development activities. She is a proud member of the Rotaract Club of Roseau and is heavily involved in community development activities of the club. Let's welcome Ms. Emmanuel. Okay. So we just want to thank our judges up front, because we know that they, as you can tell from their bio, they're all very busy and influential people, and that they have taken time off, volunteering their time and their service and their knowledge to be with us. So we just want to thank them. And now we move on to the VIPs of this afternoon's proceedings, and these are our debaters. Okay, yes, let's hear it. Whoa, exactly. Thank you, parents or teacher. Thank you very much for that. All right. So I will introduce firstly the first speaker of the proposing school, Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, and the first speaker is Miss Kiana Aaron. Okay, I see here that that Kiana is a 4th former. She's studying currently biochemistry and math. I don't know if these are her favorite subjects. Yes, okay, so these are her favorite subjects. Kiana says that she would like to be either a neurosurgeon or a lawyer in the future. That's a dichotomy, but I dare to say that in this modern age, you can do both. All right, being a lawyer doesn't mean practicing law. You can also be a consultant in the legal areas of neurosurgery, so very good. She's also a member of the Whitey Kubuli Dance Theater, so we know that she's not just an academically inclined student, she's also involved in the arts, and so we welcome Kiana once more. All right. The second speaker for the proposing school, Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, is Alec Stedman. Okay. Alec is also a 4th former, and his favorite subjects are English and literature, and also history. And he says that he would like to be a lawyer when he grows up. So, another lawyer in the house. Thank you, okay? And as an attorney at law myself, I feel very honored that so many of our students would like to join the profession. It is a very noble profession, despite what you may hear, okay? All right, on the opposing side, the Dominica Grammar School, I would like to introduce the first speaker, Miss Lydia Charles. Lydia is also a former of the Dominica Grammar School, and she loves chemistry, and she would like to be a cosmetologist when she grows up. Very nice. I guess that's why you love chemistry, right? Exactly. Our second speaker, Michaela Benjamin of the Dominica Grammar School. Michaela as well is a former, and Michaela loves writing, and Michaela would like to be a teacher in the future. Coincidentally, that's my other profession, okay? I teach at the at the Dominica State College, not the Dominica Grammar School, the Dominica State College, and this is also a very noble, if not the noblest of professions, being a teacher, yes. All right, so our debaters are seated. They are looking very confident, because I prayed for them to have confidence, and so I believe we may begin the debate officially. And for that, I would like to welcome to the podium our first speaker from the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, the proposing school, who's proposing the topic, the DominicaSocial Security System should introduce an unemployment benefit, even if it requires restructuring existing benefits and/or contribution rates. Kiana Aaron, first speaker for the proposing side, to deliver her arguments. Let's welcome her to the podium.
Moderator, respected judges, my esteemed audience, worthy opponents, my capable colleague, good afternoon. This topic is more than just a debate. It is a matter of national interest. My colleague and I are honored to support the moot. The Dominica Social Security System should introduce unemployment benefits, even if it requires restructuring existing benefits and/or contribution rates. My esteemed audience, the Dominica Social Security, DSS, was established in February 1976. Now, 50 years later, the structure of that system has largely remained the same. In contrast, our society and economy have evolved. So I ask, is it not necessary to implement responsive social policies that truly reflect the realities faced by today's workers? Before I answer this question, allow me to first define a few key terms which are central to this moot. According to the International Labour Organization, ILO, unemployment benefit form part of social protection systems designed to provide temporary income support to individuals who lose their jobs under the condition that they actively seek employment or participate in training programs. Restructuring, as defined by the Cambridge Dictionary, refers to the act of organizing a company, business, or system in a new way to make it operate more effectively. The ILO explains that contribution rates refer to the percentage of earnings that employers and employees must pay into a social security scheme in order to fund benefits and sustain the system. Respected judges, these definitions establish the relevance of introducing an unemployment benefit. Therefore, my colleague and I will examine the legal, economic, and social implications of implementing such benefits. I will explore the following points. 1, changing economic realities warrant the introduction of unemployment benefits to better protect workers during periods of involuntary job loss. And 2, the restructuring of existing benefits or adjustments to contribution rates would occur within established administrative and legal frameworks to ensure effective implementation. Esteemed audience, consider these recent unforeseen events. In 2017, Hurricane Maria devastated Dominica, leaving many unemployed. In 2018, the departure of the Ross University School of Medicine from Portsmouth resulted in hundreds losing their jobs. Then in 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic left many breadwinners without livelihoods through no fault of their own. These realities connect to my first point. Changing economic realities warrant the introduction of unemployment benefits to better protect workers during periods of involuntary job loss. Respected judges, war which seemed far away are now within our Caribbean shores. Geopolitical crises are quickly shifting economies, and it is projected that a global recession could emerge from escalating tensions, according to CNN 2026. These are a few examples of the realities that the working class needs to be prepared for. And this is precisely why we fully support DSS to introduce the unemployment benefit as a form of protection in unpredictable times. In fact, this plea aligns with the very purpose of the DSS system. According to the document National Monograph of the Dominica Social Security, quote, "Social Security is founded on the fundamental principle of the pooling of resources and sharing of risks to offer a measure of protection for insured persons and their dependents during times of economic and social distress caused by loss of earnings," end quote. My worthy opponents, the mission of DSS is to provide social protection during times of uncertainty. Then we must ask, is the system truly fulfilling that benefit today, with that mission today, without an unemployment benefit? The realities of 2026 are vastly different from those of 1976, when this system was first established. If the challenges of our workers have changed, why should our policies remain frozen in the past? Respected judges, let us take example of Barbados, which introduced unemployment benefits as far back as 1981. According to the 2021 report titled Unemployment, the Barbados Experience, I quote, "During the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, a total of 20,260 individuals who lost their jobs through no fault of their own were able to receive support through the unemployment benefit system," end quote. Esteemed audience, the Belgian Social Security was able to safeguard over 20,000 families during one of the most severe economic crises in modern history. Could they have predicted such a challenging period as the COVID-19 pandemic? No, no one saw it coming. Yet, it was the presence of unemployment benefit program that served as a critical safety net, protecting not only workers, but also the wider Belgian economy. In contrast, here in Dominica, data from the DominicaSocial Security shows that the government had to secure over $7 million in loans to fund income support for those who lost their jobs during the pandemic. Respected judges, is this how we should run a country? Scrambling for high interest loans during times of crisis, only to be paid back by citizens through high taxes? No wonder some say Dominica is not a real place. We are too reactive. But we can change that by implementing unemployment benefits, protecting our workers even before disaster strikes. Furthermore, regional research underscores the urgent need for unemployment protection. According to the report titled Social Security Development and Trends America 2023, the top recommendation for Caribbean territories across the region is to implement unemployment schemes to safeguard workers in unpredictable times. Esteemed audience, this brings me to my second point. The restructuring of existing benefits or adjustments to contribution rates would occur within established administrative and legal frameworks to ensure effective implementation. The opposition may suggest that introducing unemployment benefit would lead to a fraudulent system. But let us not be ignorant. Unemployment benefit is never guaranteed without structure, accountability, and specific conditions. Respected judges, in modern social security systems, unemployment benefits, as is in the case of Barbados, are granted to individuals who meet strict eligibility criteria and comply. In an interview with the Deputy Director of DSS, Mr. Augustus Etienne, he stated that administrative systems would be put in place for effective implementation and monitoring, emphasizing it would involve a state collaboration rather than being an isolated initiative. Such conditions prevent fraud and ensure that the benefit functions exactly as it should. Mr. Etienne further explained that this policy will be introduced under key considerations, such as 1, contribution affordability, 2, benefit relevance, and 3, system sustainability. Furthermore, the 14th Actuarial Review of the Social Security and Redundancy Funds 2020 report suggested that an unemployment benefit scheme should begin with a modest contribution of rates of approximately 2.5% of insurable earnings with periodic reviews to ensure both sustainability and effectiveness. My worthy opponents, these structures make it clear that this is not a reckless proposal, but a carefully structured system designed for effectiveness, affordability, and sustainability. Respected judges, we also see it necessary to highlight that both international and our local legislation provides a strong foundation for restructuring the system. The ILO Convention of 1952 explicitly recognized unemployment benefits as an essential component of any modern social security system. At the same time, under Section 50 of the DSS Act, the minister is empowered to modify the system, thereby enabling the introduction of unemployment benefits. So I ask the opposition a critical question. If the law already provides the authority and mechanism to improve the system, why should we go against better protection for our workers? Restructuring benefits or contribution rates is both legally and administratively feasible. And considering that our economy and workforce have transformed, our social protection system must also evolve to meet these new realities. For these reasons, we firmly believe that the Dominica Social Security System should introduce unemployment benefits, even if it requires restructuring existing benefits and/or contribution rates. I rest momentarily. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kiana, for your presentation. Kiana's presentation was 9 minutes and 36 seconds, I believe, yes. Moving right along, we now call upon the first speaker of the opposing school, the Dominica Grammar School, Miss Lydia Charles, to make her deliberations.
Organizers of the inter-secondary school debate competition, moderator, honorable judges, my most able colleague, esteemed opponents, and members of the audience, good afternoon. Today, we debate whether the Dominica Social Security should introduce an unemployment benefit, even if it means restructuring benefits and/or contribution rates. My colleague and I firmly reject this proposal. We do so not because we think unemployment is not a real problem, not because we do not care about unemployed workers, but because a promise you cannot afford to keep is not kindness. It is a trap. Today, the proposition is asking Dominica to gamble with a system that workers have spent decades building, contribution by contribution, payslip by payslip. We are here to explain why that gamble is far too dangerous. But before I get into this argument, let me define a few key terms. The Dominica Social Security is our national social insurance system, where workers and employers contribute to it every month. As of 2026, they contribute 14.75% of insurable earnings together, and that figure is scheduled to rise to 16% by 2031. According to the DSS Contribution Rate Schedule, Appendix A. The word should, according to the Oxford Dictionary, means used to indicate what is probable or expected, or to give advice or recommendations. An unemployment benefit is a partial income replacement to eligible workers for short periods following involuntary unemployment. Its goals are to replace some lost income and allow time for job searching, according to the DSS Draft Review, Chapter 9. Restructuring, according to the Oxford Dictionary, means organizing something such as a system in a new and different way. So in plain terms, the motion is asking employees to start paying an unemployment benefit through the Social Security system, even if workers and employers must pay more or existing benefits must be reduced. We wholeheartedly disagree. I shall address these 3 points. 1, Dominica cannot afford this scheme. 2, we do not know the unemployment rates in Dominica. And 3, restructuring means someone loses. Point 1, Dominica cannot afford this scheme. Let us start with the most basic question in any policy debate. Can Dominica actually afford this? Judges, the answer is no. According to the IMF 2024 Article 4 consultation, Dominica's public debt stood at 97.5% of GDP in 2023. My friends, imagine you earn $100 every month, but before you buy your groceries or before you pay your bills, you already owe $97.50. That is the position Dominica is in today. We are not a wealthy country with spare resources. We are a small island, still rebuilding after Hurricane Maria, still recovering from the COVID-19 economic shutdown, and still managing significant public debt. The IMF 2024 report states that limited fiscal space constrains development plans, and that policy responses to repeated shocks since 2015 have depleted fiscal buffers. In other words, the government has almost no financial room to take on new commitments without threatening economic stability. According to the International Labour Organization, funding unemployment insurance in Dominica could require an additional 2.5% of insurable earnings in contribution, according to the ILO cost assessment for a UI scheme in Dominica 2021. So, judges, where will that money come from? From workers who are already paying increasing contributions, whose budget is already stretched thin. From business owners already struggling to keep their doors open. From a government that only just moved out of deficit in 2023 by a tiny 0.4% of GDP, according to the IMF 2024 paragraph 3. That is like watching someone clear their overdraft after years of stress and saying, "Excellent, now take out a new loan." Magwesa. Interestingly, judges, in an article from Dominica News Online entitled Government Income Support Program Extended, applicants reminded of requirements dated September 9th, 2020. It states that the World Bank made available $5.2 million to fund the program for relief during the COVID-19 period, and they also set the qualifying criteria. If Dominica needed international hand-holding to run a temporary relief program, are we truly ready to independently fund and administer a permanent unemployment benefit? I dare say we are not. Point 2. We do not know the rate of unemployment in Dominica. The DSS openly states that there is no current estimate of the unemployment rate in Dominica, according to the DSS Review, Chapter 9. We also contacted the Statistical Division on Thursday, 5th March, and they confirmed there was no data in relation to unemployment rates in Dominica. Judges, we cannot be serious. We are flying blindly. The proposition is asking Dominica to design an entire benefit system without knowing how many people are likely to claim at any given time, how long the average claim will last, nor what the total payout liability will be in any given year. Without those figures, any contribution rate you set is a guess. Set it too low and fund runs dry. Set it too high and you are overtaxing workers unnecessarily, damaging businesses and household incomes for no good reason. Judges, to sum up this point, the ILO produced an entire article titled Producing Actuarial Analysis with Limited Data, 10 Lessons from Myanmar, in February 2022. It shows that designing an unemployment insurance scheme with insufficient labor data is such a serious and recognized problem that it required its own published guidance. My friends, we need to stop playing with the livelihood of our Dominican people. No unemployment data, no unemployment benefits. Point 3. Restructuring means someone loses. The proposition keeps using the word restructuring as if it means tidying up a desk. But when you restructure a social security fund, money must move from one place to another. And that means someone loses. Before I tell you who, let me tell you what any ordinary Dominican thinks. As part of our debate preparation, we conducted a face-to-face survey of DSS contributors, real working people who pay into the system every single month, people with skin in this game. 70% said no to restructuring. Only 30% were open to the idea. Judges, these are not politicians. These are the workers this system was built to protect, and nearly 3/4 of them do not want this. That should tell the proposition something. Now, who actually loses when restructuring happens? The IMF has already told us the DSS fund must increase contributions and reduce replacement rates just to survive until 2063, but before a single dollar of unemployment benefit is added, according to the IMF Country Report 2024. The DSS currently pays sickness benefits, maternity benefit for 3 months, and pension, among others, according to the dss.dm. Every one of those benefits draw from the same pool the proposition now wants to dip into. So, will pensions be reduced? Because there are elderly men and women across this island, in Marigot, in Grand Bay, and even in St. Joe, who depend entirely on their DSS pension to buy food and medicine. That pension is not a bonus. It is their survival. The IMF is telling Dominica to stabilize, not expand, according to the IMF Executive Board Press Release 2024. The workers I surveyed are saying the same, and we are saying the same today. Judges, don't be swayed by the proposition's use of emotional appeal. We can see right through that. They'll say it's about compassion, but compassion without calculation is chaos. You do not help a drowning man by jumping in without a lifeline. You end up with 2 people drowning instead of 1. So, judges, we say a firm no to restructuring benefits or the contribution rates. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Lydia. So again, that was the first speaker of the Dominica Grammar School, Lydia Charles. And Lydia spoke for a total of 10 minutes and 14 seconds. Again, moving right along, we then move on to our second speakers, and we will call first to the podium Mr. Alex Stedman of the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School.
Moderator, respected judges, my esteemed audience, worthy opponents, my capable colleague, good afternoon. I rise today to further affirm that the Dominica Social Security System should introduce unemployment benefit, even if it requires Moderator, respected judges, my esteemed audience, worthy opponents, my capable colleague, good afternoon. I rise today to further affirm that the Dominica Social Security System should introduce unemployment benefits, even if it requires restructuring existing benefits and/or increasing contribution rates. At the heart of this debate lies a fundamental principle of equity. As the great Nelson Mandela once said, quote, "To deny people their human rights is to challenge their very humanity," end quote. These powerful words remind us that social protection is not merely a policy choice, but a moral responsibility. It is on this principle that I present my two arguments. One, Social Security is a social institution designed to safeguard citizens, thus, restructuring benefits to include unemployment protection aligns with key human rights. Two, the introduction of unemployment benefit can function as an economic stabilizer while also contributing to the Dominica Social Security System. With these 2 points, I will demonstrate that introducing unemployment benefit is morally justified, economically prudent, and socially necessary for the continued progress of our nation. Esteemed audience, a 2025 study by the International Labour Organization titled Building Right-Based Unemployment Protection Scheme states, quote, unemployment protection is recognized not only as a human right, but also as a social and economic right, end quote. In harmony, the Dominica Social Security System declares its mission, quote, to be acknowledged as a major component of national social protection coverage founded on the principles of equity, social justice, pooling of resources, and sharing of risks, end quote. Judges, these voices resonate with a single powerful message. Our social security system must uphold the principles of human rights. So I ask our worthy opponents, why support the exclusion of unemployment benefits when doing so directly defies these fundamental principles? Esteemed audience, workers in Dominica contribute to Social Security for 15, 20, and even 30 years. Yet, when they lose their jobs through no fault of their own, they receive no direct income replacement. Respected judges, where is the fairness in this? If workers faithfully contribute to a system designed to provide security, then it is only right and just that the system supports them when unemployment occurs. Let us consider the recent fire in Roseau earlier this month. 5 businesses were destroyed, and we all shared our heartfelt apologies for those affected. But respected judges, I must ask, can these individuals go to the supermarket and exchange prayers for food? Yet, the opposition, with zero compassion, believes that workers who lose their jobs through no fault of their own should simply endure that hardship. Respected judges,
school debate competition, moderator, honorable judges, my most able colleague, worthy opponents, and members of the audience. Good afternoon. My colleague has already done the heavy lifting, and I stand firmly by her definitions and her arguments. My role today is to drive 3 heavy nails into the coffin of this proposal. 1. Dominica does not yet have the infrastructure to run unemployment insurance. 2. Dominica's informal economy is a breeding ground for fraud. And 3. We need to build on what already exists. Let's get right into it. First nail in the coffin, Dominica lacks the infrastructure. Let us be clear about what unemployment insurance is truly about. It's not simply about handing people money. Judges, this is what it is. According to the International Labour Organization, the ILO, effective unemployment systems depend on job training programs, employment referral services, and robust administrative monitoring. These are the mechanisms that help people return to work. Judges, the ILO is clear. Unemployment insurance cannot work without job placement services, employment counseling, and systems to monitor whether claimants are actually looking for work. ILO Ascenjo and Pignati 2019. Without these, people can claim benefits while still working, and the truly needy fall through the cracks. This is why the ILO itself says most developing countries rely on employment protection law instead of unemployment insurance, because they do not yet have the infrastructure to run it properly. ILO 2019. We do not have these mechanisms in place, nor do we have the foundation. Yet, the proposition wants to build the roof. Judges, Sassim Meshaste. Introducing unemployment insurance without proper infrastructure is like installing a smoke alarm in a building with no sprinkling system. It makes you feel protected. But when the fire comes, nothing will actually work. Second nail in the coffin. Fraud in an informal economy. Here is something the proposition has been remarkably quiet about. Dominica has a large informal economy. Farming, domestic work, market trading, much of it is unregistered, and much of it is undocumented. Unemployment insurance depends entirely on accurate records. Proof of employment, proof of job loss, proof of income. Without these records, the system cannot distinguish the genuinely unemployed from those simply taking advantage. And fraud does not require sophisticated criminals. It simply requires a gap in the system. The United States, with some of the most advanced monitoring systems on earth, paid out over $45 billion in fraudulent unemployment claims during the COVID-19 pandemic. U.S. Department of Labor 2022. Fake IDs, false claims, billions lost. Now ask yourself, if fraud flourishes in countries with more formal economies, what happens in Dominica, where a significant share of economic activity leaves no paper trail whatsoever? And judges, let us not be naive. A worker loses his formal job, genuinely, legitimately, but he's earning decent money doing odd jobs, running a small side business, trading at the markets. Cash in hand, no contract, no record. Yet every month, he is still collecting his unemployment benefit. Because in Dominica's informal economy, there is no system to flag it. There is no mechanism to detect it. No system to flag it. And no way to stop it. He is not destitute, but he is being paid as if he is. Judges, we are not saying every Dominican is dishonest. We are saying the system makes honesty optional. And in a country where the fund is already under strain, We simply cannot afford that. And the third and final nail to seal the coffin, build on what already exists. We are not opposed to protecting workers. We are opposed to abandoning a system that works in favor of one that may not. Dominica already has a redundancy fund. When a worker is made redundant, they receive severance pay directly, predictably, immediately. No complex eligibility assessments. No lengthy waiting periods. No administrative machinery that has not yet been built. The ILO has recognized that for small economies, severance pay systems are often more practical and more sustainable than full unemployment insurance schemes. The proposition wants to dismantle that certainty and replace it with complexity in a system that cannot handle that complexity. Sometimes, strength is not about building something new. It's about what works. In closing, we do not ask you to abandon the unemployed. We ask you to be honest about what Dominica can deliver, because a safety net full of holes does not catch anyone. Build the foundation first, protect what works, and then and only then can this conversation begin. I thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Michaela Benjamin of the Dominica Grammar School, our second speaker, and that she spoke for 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Okay, and that concludes the presentation segment of the debate. We now pause for 5 minutes, during which, as I said earlier, the debaters will present their rebuttal. I ask that we try our best not to distract them. Check your phones again once more, and let's just remain as quietly as we can while the debaters organize their rebuttal. Yes? Time keeper, 5 minutes have now begun. So the timekeeper has advised that the 5 minutes have expired. However, the students may still use up another extra minute while I acknowledge our sponsors. Now, as you've been told, our main sponsor for the semi-final round is the DominicaSocial Security. But we will not forget our usual sponsors who are sponsoring the entire intersecondary school debate. Okay, so our sponsors and partners are as follows: Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited, Dominica Social Security, also a regular regular sponsor with us, Nagico Insurances, Central Cooperative Credit Union, KFC, National Bank of Dominica, Domlec, Lindomart, Insurance Company of the West Indies, Dominica News Online, Maysil Pascal and Grace Foundation, Freeman Consulting LLC, Emo News, DBS Radio, Q95 FM Radio, Dr. Sharna Casimir, Cheryl Roll, Surgical Life, Dr. Liv Peltier, Yakima Coffee, Elaine Renick Buncombe, and Shams Eats and Treats. These are our sponsors. We also want to thank our partner, the Dominica State College and the UE Global Campus. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you, sponsors and partners. All right. We now proceed with the debate competition, and now we are at the rebuttal stage. As I stated earlier, the rebuttal stage will be led by the first speakers of each of the schools, beginning with our proposing school, the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, and we call on Kiana Aaron, the first speaker of that school, to deliver the rebuttal on behalf of her school.
Moderator, respected judges, my esteemed audience, allow me to highlight the fallacies in my opponent's argument. The opposition stated that Dominica cannot afford this scheme. My esteemed audience, the DSS already manages pension, sickness, and maternity benefits. The unemployment benefit is an expansion, not a reinvention. Additionally, as stated by my opponent, there is no financial room. The actuarial review suggests a modest contribution rate of at least 2.5%. Without these necessary contributions, Dominica resorts to borrowing millions, and that is a greater burden on the entire nation. The opposition also stated that there may be fraud, but fraud is not unique to the unemployment benefit. It exists within all systems. Additionally, implementation of such a benefit is never guaranteed without proper structure, accountability, and systemic conditions. Leading examples like Barbados has already put in place verification systems, monitoring mechanisms, and eligibility criteria to ensure effective implementation. The DSS has already stated and confirmed that there will be administrative systems put in place. So then, we ask, will there be fraud? And even then, the real question is not will there be fraud, but do we have the system to prevent it? The opposition is not arguing against the unemployment benefit, they are arguing against preparedness. However, respected judges, let me remind you, the unemployment benefits are essential to safeguard workers against modern economic challenges. They are entirely feasible, as the legal and administrative frameworks already exist to support effective implementation. At the same time, they support fairness and justice, while also strengthening our economy by building a resilient social security system for generations to come. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kiana Aaron. Kiana spoke for a total of 1 minute and 55 seconds. And just to remind you that for the rebuttal, both schools are allowed to speak for 3 minutes. Okay, thank you, Kiana. And now we call upon the first speaker of the opposing school, the Dominica Grammar School, Miss Lydia Charles, to give her rebuttal.
Praise, please.
Good afternoon to all once again. My opponents came here today with a plan that sounds sweet, real sweet. But as we say in Dominica, tout ça qui claire, c'est pas l'or. Not everything that shines is gold. Because yes, an unemployment benefit does sound good. Who wouldn't want a safety net? But the real question is, can Dominica actually afford it? And will it actually work? My opponent stated that introducing an unemployment benefit will provide protection during involuntary job loss. But judges, this is creating a dependency trap rather than a solution. In a small country like ours, where jobs are already limited, paying people to stay unemployed longer will make things worse, as they will rely on the money rather than looking for actual work. That is not empowerment. That is dependency. As my colleague stated, we already have a redundancy fund in place. My opponents also stated that introducing an unemployment benefit will provide an economic stabilizer. But judges, when monkey see and monkey do, monkey will get in trouble too. Why must we watch Barbados? They have a larger economy. They are a more developed country with diversified industries and stronger tax bases. In other words, as I previously stated that, our government has almost no financial room to take on new commitments without threatening economic stability. My opponents also stated that introducing an unemployment benefit will stabilize the economy. But judges, this is assuming that the government has enough money. But in reality, paying for an unemployment benefit would likely mean higher taxes, so people and businesses will have less money to spend, and that does not help the economy. It doesn't grow the economy. It just moves money around. An unemployment benefit may sound compassionate, but in our reality, Dominica's reality, they risk becoming a costly illusion. When you look at their facts, their argument collapses. Judges, we rest our case. I thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Lydia Charles of the Dominica Grammar School. Lydia spoke for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Thank you, Lydia. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listening public, this concludes the formal session of the debating competition. We will now take our judges to a secure location where they will deliberate or make their deliberations and return to us with the verdict. Okay, I'm not sure. So the judges will be escorted to a room somewhere. And judges, we ask that you return that verdict as quickly as possible. Thank you. Is a verdict. All right, as I stated earlier, usually, yes, thank you. So while the judges are away, we'll ask our debaters to join their schools so they can vacate the podium and join their schools. We'll call you back up once the judges have returned. Yes, let's give them a round of applause. They did a very good job today. Yes. I dare say sometimes I serve as a judge in the debating competition, and I'm very happy I'm not in the judge's position today, because what we saw today were two very, very excellent presentations, and so the judges have a heavy task ahead of them. As I said earlier, during this time, while the judges are away, we would usually engage in a discussion of the topic ourselves. But before we do so, I would like to ask one of the representatives of the Dominica Social Security maybe to just engage us briefly on the Dominica Social Security, especially as it relates to, I see them looking at each other. Should we do any, mini, miny, mo to decide who comes up? Or is somebody going to volunteer? Or should I volunteer somebody? Okay. Okay, Mo is coming, all right? Okay, so I will leave it to Mo to introduce herself formally, to tell you what her name is and her position is at the Dominica Social Security.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tamasha Lloyd, Marketing and Communications Officer at Dominica Social Security. And I'm sitting here listening to the students debate the topic, and it was quite interesting to hear the arguments. One thing that stuck with me was something that the last speaker said when she said, monkey see, monkey do, monkey will get in trouble too. So that was quite interesting, and opened our eyes to different perspectives of the topic and of the debate, and certain things that we were not looking from introducing, and the possibility of introducing unemployment benefit in Dominica. And it opened our eyes to varying perspectives and perhaps certain things that we should look at in consideration of whether we need to introduce unemployment benefits to Dominicans. In terms of unemployment benefits, Dominica doesn't currently have an unemployment benefit system. We offer a range of benefits: sickness, maternity, employment injury, disability, death, sick, invalidity, age, survivors, and a funeral grant as well to Dominicans. So perhaps COVID opened our eyes towards the possibility of introducing unemployment benefit, because during the COVID pandemic and even after Hurricane Maria, we saw a lot of persons who were in the formal sector or who were current contributors of Social Security who would have lost their jobs for no fault of theirs. And it's begged the question as whether, if we had an unemployment benefit at Social Security, whether the persons would have been different. They would have been able to continue their livelihoods, continue to take care of their families, continue to pay their bills and so on. And there will be less persons dependent on government assistance to continue to pay their bills during the pandemic. So that opened our eyes, and that is one of the things that may be considered in the future. And the debate was just an opportune moment to hear both sides of perspectives in relation to the possibility of an unemployment benefit in Dominica. We'd also like to hear from the audience, hear from the students, whether they have any questions, anything that they need clarified.
Implementation of such a plan involves Social Security itself in making investments with good returns so that it can sustain that unemployment benefit.
Well, already all the benefits that we offer, the contribution income alone is not adequate to cover all our benefits that we pay. So we are already doing investments. It's part of the income of Social Security. So we have two main methods of income: contribution being the main one, and investment income. Also, of any excess surplus that we have, we invest to get a return in order to continue to pay benefits. And certainly investment income will continue to play a critical role in Social Security. Obviously, if we are introducing any form of unemployment benefit, we will not just go out and introduce it. We will have stakeholders, we will engage with people, engage with government, engage with various agencies to get their feedback as to what is the best way to implement such a program. While I am here, I just want to highlight one of the activities for our anniversary, which is upcoming on Saturday, the 28th of March. We will be having an on wheels from Rosa to Portsmouth with whistle stops along various communities of the West Coast. So if you are in Marsac, Mao, Taro, St. Joseph, Salisbury, Hollywood, Dublin, Portsmouth, we will be doing whistle stops along those communities, giving out information, clarifying anything persons want to know about Social Security, and we are using the opportunity to call on all self-employed persons who have not been contributing to Social Security. Perhaps you were contributing at one point in time, but you may have lapsed and you want to know how you can start back contributing to Social Security, so that when certain events, certain things that happen to you that we provide coverage for, that we provide protection against, when those things occur, you know how you can benefit from the program. So let's use the opportunity on Saturday to engage with us, to get the information that you need about Social Security. And as always, we are always available if persons want to clarify. You don't take everything that you get in the public eye or in the public domain, because they may not be factual at all times. So you can always call us, contact us at Social Security for us to clarify any concerns you have. Anybody from the audience?
Just as follow-up, would you have a sensitization for the public of if you were to introduce this unemployment?
Definitely. And even when we had our pension reform, we engage with various stakeholders to get their feedback on certain things or recommendations that we made by the actuary that we needed to implement. So any form or any change Social Security is making or contemplating, we will definitely have sensitization campaigns, we will definitely engage with the public, the various stakeholders, trade unions, the various stakeholders representing the contributors of Social Security, for example, the trade unions, employers, employees, we engage with you to give you the information and to get your feedback as well.
Will require tripartite consultation. We must include the trade unions, the employer representatives, and government. Okay, so any discussion to do with introducing unemployment benefit, we must have those three pillars involved in the discussion and involved in crafting whatever it is that we're going to put in place. Okay? Yeah.
For your contribution to the discussion. We really appreciate the synopsis that you gave us. And we thank Mr. Wilson for his question. Now, usually the topics for the debates are crafted by the organizer, and I dare say we try to bring topics that are relevant, that are timely, and most importantly, that we find are interesting to our young people, especially our high schoolers, because it's their debate. So when you look at this topic, I mean, we have to admit it's not one that and I'm making a presumption here, I may be wrong, that our young people would initially be, interested in, because most of them, especially the ones present here, are still in school. And so it really is always a good topic in terms of bringing to bear, the issues things that they can look forward to when they do join the workforce. But based on a question that Mr. Wilson gave, am I to assume that the Social Security, is this something that you're contemplating, and is this your market review? Is this something that you're contemplating, and so you crafted a topic so that indirectly you get feedback from the public? I'm just asking. Both of them, yes. You want to answer that? Okay, Mr. Etienne is coming.
Yes, because COVID brought the matter to light. This is a system that exists in just a few places in the Caribbean. And it is one of the benefits that the ILO stipulates as one that Social Security System should make available in order to be adequately, supporting people in their time of need. So with the advent of COVID, almost every system in the Caribbean had to put some measure in place to bring relief to persons who were displaced by reason of COVID. And so most of us are now contemplating the introduction of that benefit as part of what we offer. Now, our systems are all contributory systems that you must make contributions into the system for you to be able to access benefits. So the introduction of any new benefit will necessitate a small contribution, because you have to pay a contribution while you are working, so that when you cannot work and earn, that you can derive the benefits that we offer. So it is something that we're contemplating, and we don't know how soon it will become a reality, but because that is something that we wanted to get feedback. So it was a way of getting a feel, and yet to get some ideas from the debaters as well, based on their research, in terms of where we can look in terms of moving forward. And it is something for us to appreciate, because social protection is something that is not just a privilege, but is becoming a human right. Because the time will come when people will not be able to work and earn. And because they will be affected by certain things that make them unable to work and earn, it doesn't mean they should be left to scrunt. Excuse me. So the provision of the existence of those systems is meant to provide people with income in their time of need. Yeah. No. I'm just going to decide.
I have a little follow-up. So I was right, and that's a very good strategy, might I say. All right. Is there a particular reason or reasons why, or is it just something that never occurred to the to Dominica Social Security? Is there a reason why currently we do not have, or there never was that type of benefit, unemployment benefit?
So the systems were designed to provide what you call income protection at certain times. And ILO, I believe, has maybe about 12 maybe different benefits, but we have almost all of them. So I think the unemployment is one of possibly 3 that we do not have as part of our system. So for all intents and purposes, we are in compliance with the ILO convention that says what social security system should offer as a minimum. But by bringing that one on board, we would be making it even more comprehensive, because some people find themselves in that situation where they are unemployed through no fault of theirs. And the concern about possible abuses is a valid concern, but as they said in their presentation, based on discussions and so, certain measures have to be put in place to ensure that it works properly and it's not abused. And the intention is that it will be made payable over a relatively short period of time, so that it will not leave room for people to feel comfortable, and instead of going back and look forward, just depending on that unemployment benefit.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Mr. Etienne. Yes, you have another question?
Try is what? Quattro. Okay, the system is governed by legislation, and government enacts legislation. So most times we may be required to do the publicity, the education to get the public buy-in, and then once we are able to convince government that people understand why things have to happen, then we have no difficulty in getting them to enact the necessary legislation to effect things. Now, you make mention of tripartite, that is the ILO model. ILO prefers that you have labor, you have employer, you have government. But that is the prescribed thing, but it's not every system that is designed like that. Our system, the government, when they appoint the board, they try to include persons who have expertise in those different areas. But it's not a requirement of our legislation that it be tripartite. Okay?
Thank you very much for that response. And just to add a little bite to what Mr. Wilson is saying, of course, a change like that would require legislative change, as he said, right? So if that benefit were to be added to, Parliament would have to make the necessary change to the legislation or amendment in order for that to happen. And I would like to just to follow up, based on what you said, I gather that the Dominica Social Security is in dialogue. Have you guys started any dialogue with the government in that regard? Officially.
Yes, again, as I said, in the aftermath of COVID, that became necessary, and they kind of gave us the go-ahead for us to seek technical assistance, again, from the ILO, the bastion of labor legislation, labor standards in the world, to give guidance in that regard. So we are in consultation with this head.
We appreciate that. All right. So Wilson, yes. We have a question from, or comment from a member of the audience. Good afternoon.
So I was not able to be part of the first discussion due to being one of the judges, but I think one of the important points that comes from that first topic with regards to this particular benefit is the fact that this particular benefit relates or would initially relate to formal unemployment, meaning persons who are already part of the system and then having to drop out. But then I know we also have a situation or issue right now with unemployment in its entirety. What strategies are currently being considered, I would say, by the Social Security in terms of public sensitization, as well as gaining information from the public, as well as it pertains to the reasons for the quote-unquote high rates of unemployment, and how can we also bridge that gap and ensure that there's not a misconstruing of the concept of the unemployment benefit in that regard.
Very good point, Mr. The contemplation of introducing unemployment benefit is to persons who were working and for no fault of theirs lose their jobs. It doesn't address, it is not to deal with persons who are employable but are not working because they have no work to do. So I think that can be a problem, because you might indicate that people are going to abuse the system. But this benefit is for people who were working, earning, contributing, and they unavoidably out of job for a while. And while they transition and are waiting another job, they get some partial relief from the system. We mentioned that we haven't got statistics on the rate of unemployment. Well, the rate of unemployment would be obtained from the Central Statistics Unit, because they're looking at the total population who are of employment age and how many people are out of work. Social Security can talk about people who are part of the system, people who are registered and paying, and all of a sudden they stop paying because they'd lost their job. So these are the people that we are concerned about. Okay? Strategies in terms of impacting employment, when we make investments, which we must do because the contributions alone that we receive from contributors cannot be sufficient to sustain the system. So we must make investments. And when we make investments, we try to impact employment creation as well. So we make investments to generate returns, yes, but also to be able to impact employment, that we can increase our contribution base so that the benefit can, the system can continue to evolve. Yeah?
Follow-up question, because you just made a point there, and I found it very interesting, particularly the fact that we understand that the current rate of contribution cannot support the system as it stands. So the question is, because as a young contributor, I would say, and many years away from pensionable age as it stands, sadly, and noting that we currently have a system in which every year the current contribution rate is increasing, and how exactly is it that with, of course, the investments that are currently being made by the Social Security, how does the Social Security intend, should the system be, or this new benefit be considered wholeheartedly, how do we seek to offset that already increasing costs of contribution that we are facing?
So everything we do is done by law. And one of the safeguards, if I can put it that way, the law has in place is for the system to be subjected to an actuarial evaluation every 3 years. Any change that has to be made to the system is advised by actuaries when they come and they do their assessments. They look at what's happening in the economy, what's happening in the system, what's happening for population, and they make recommendations and projections, so that those things are going to be advised in terms of what level of contribution will be sufficient to finance that new benefit, and how you implement it, when, where. And the 0.25% increase that you make reference to is, again, the systems are supposed to be in place in perpetuity. It's not expected to go under ever. So while we have to pay benefits that remain relevant, we have to ensure long-term sustainability. And you ensure sustainability by increasing financing, really, because the rate at which you pay contributions into the system is probably about a quarter of the rate at which the system pays you benefit. So your benefit to your contribution to the system is only partially funding the benefit that we pay back to you, because you have the benefit of the pool to support the rest of the benefit to you. Okay?
Okay, thank Mr. Etienne, thanks for clarifying all the points that we raised. We would really like to engage our young people. This is their debate, right? But we do thank you for enlightening us. And so I have a question for our students, all right? Should students like yourselves, young people, first-time workers, most of you are unemployed currently, do you think that this issue is something that you should be worried about now, or is something for the adults to worry about? Do you think that is something that you should contemplate now, or is it something that doesn't concern you and my mommy and daddy, that's their problem, not my problem? What do you think? Now that you have learned a bit about Social Security, now that you know a little more than you knew before the debate started, do you think that this is your problem right now at your age in high school, or something that your parents only should be worried about? Let me hear your views on that. And we're specifically asking our high schoolers. Yes, no, that way them big people, that's not my problem. Once I get my phone,
Thank you very much. I'd personally like to say that, in my opinion, it is my problem currently, because we are not supposed to just think of now. We're supposed to think of the future. So when we get older, how much is that rate going to increase? How much money am I going to pay when I get older? When I'm working, what about my future children? What about my generation? What about going on? How much do they have to pay? How much do my students, my friends have to pay when they get older too? So I don't think it is just an adult problem currently now. I think it is a country problem right now, even if I'm not working. Thank you.
anybody else wants to respond to the question before I move on to my follow-up question? Don't be shy. So you all have to share the same view as your colleague? Yes. Okay. So based on your response, you're saying that you should think about it now because of the impact on it on you in the future. But do you see any way that currently now, if this were to be implemented or not, that it will impact on you right now and not when you grow up or when you start working? Is there any way that you believe, first of all, the lack of unemployment benefits currently affects you or can affect you? Or if it is implemented, whether and how it can affect you? Think about it. Okay, so you're being taken care of by your parents, most of whom I assume are employed. Think about a situation, let's say, where one or both of them becomes unemployed. I guess nothing would change if that happened. You thinking? Think about it. What would happen if mommy and daddy suddenly becomes unemployed? Currently, we have no unemployment benefits. How would that affect you or impact you? No way. We have our aunties and uncles and nenes and power who will still take care of us. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So we're going to have our own little debate here. Let me ask everybody. Head go down right away now. The row of this row of ITSS students right here, the one next to the student with the blue spot shirt. Teacher said this is something I do. I look for the person who doesn't want me to call them at all. So she's kind of even seeing her face. Do you see in any way, shape, or form how the current lack of unemployment benefits could affect your household? Sorry. Sorry, I'm being summoned and by the media to move to the mic. So I'll stay in the mic. I just was trying to see the young lady's face. So how do you think the lack thereof or the implementation of unemployment benefits at some point in the future could affect yourself, your family, your household? Okay, so she's a little bit shy. What about her friend on her right? Okay, so yes, if I
That's the same.
I can understand, like I said, the topic is the topic itself, though it's very important one, it's not something that normally like young people engage with or be, primarily interested in. So the judges are back, so you will say, but at least I will ask that our high schoolers, this is something that you can start to keep in your contemplation, that you can start to think of think of repercussions. If one of your parents or both were suddenly unemployed, that could affect so many things. You know, your education, your nutrition, you know, etc., etc. No more new iPhones and devices, right? They might cut the internet, so no more Wi-Fi, right? So these are things that we can think of, even if you are not yet directly impacted by it. Okay, so our judges are here. We will now resume the debate proceedings. The judges are to, well, before we actually give the results, usually we have a critique from the chief judge, and so that is Mr. Edwards. We welcome him to the podium to deliver the judge's critique. Let's welcome him.
Good afternoon to each and every one of you. Very interesting debate. Actually, when I saw the topic, I said, wow, it'll be interesting to hear what these young people have to say about this, because I thought it was a challenging topic. I thought it was a challenging topic. But you did a great job, so kudos. We think that you have successfully enlightened the listening public on the nature of Dominica's social security services. And I think people would have a better understanding of how the system is organized. But you did more than that. You highlighted the importance of data-driven decisions. And that was very, very good. And we noticed that one of the strengths, we noticed that you did quite a bit of research on credible literary sources. So that was quite good. But we also commend you on seeking primary data, where you didn't get scholarly articles to support your arguments. You actually went out there and collected some primary data, meaning your interviews and your analysis of the data. So that again is very good, very strong. I think you reminded the listeners, that you reminded the listeners that when you are arguing and you're putting forward positions and recommendations, they must be supported by data. And they must be supported by case studies where those are relevant. One of your strong arguments, we think, was that you underscored relevant cases. You referred to case studies in the region, Barbados, and you also referenced case studies in the US. That's commendable. The arguments that were put forward were logical in the sense that they flowed from one issue to another with very nice linkage between the issues. So that was very good. And of course I said about the alternative policy positions because you highlighted that anytime you're considering policy changes, you have to look at alternative policy positions, the cost-benefit analysis of each. So, young people, you did a great job. You have to clap yourselves. And the last we want to say is that we notice you all have your own development ambitions. We encourage you to follow your dreams.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Edwards, for your critique on behalf of the judges. We'll now ask the debaters to return to their positions at the podium before I give the official results. And before I even announce the results, we just want again to acknowledge our sponsors and partners of the debate. Our main sponsors, DominicaSocial Security, for this semi-final round. We want to thank you again very much. They are usually sponsors of the debate, but they have taken over and have adopted the semi-final round. So we want to give them a round of applause. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Okay. Our other sponsors include Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited, DominicaSocial Security, as I said, Nagico Insurances, Central Cooperative Credit Union, KFC, National Bank of Dominica, Domlec, Lindomat, Insurance Company of the West Indies, Dominica News Online, Maysil Pascal and Grace Foundation, Freeman Consulting LLC, Emo News, DBS Radio, Q95 FM Radio, Dr. Shana Casimir, Cheryl Roll of Surgical Life, Dr. Liv Peltier, Yakima Coffee, Ellen Renee Buncombe, and Shams Eats and Treats. These are our sponsors. But we also want to thank our partners, the Dominica State College and UE Global Campus. Thank you once again. All right, so I can see we are here waiting with bated breaths for I see people looking at me like, hurry up, hurry up. Okay, so before we announce the winners of the debate, we usually announce the best speaker for this afternoon. The best speaker, based on the judges' results, goes to the opposition seconder. Okay, so that is Miss Lydia Child. No, sorry, my apologies. That is Miss Michaela Benjamin of the Dominica Grammar School. Okay. Not yet. Congratulations, Michaela. Well done. All right, so for the winner of this afternoon's debate, now the grand total for the debate is 780 points. That is the maximum amount of points that a team could receive. The judges have awarded a total of, to the proposition side, sorry, a total of 627 points. Okay. And to the opposition side, the judges have allotted a total of, drum roll, thank you, 702 points. Okay? That means, based on the math, that the winner of this afternoon's debating competition, the second semi-final debate, is the Dominica Grammar School. Congratulations. All right. Okay. Like Mr. Edwards said, it was a very hard-fought round. I think the debate was of a high standard. And so we thank the judges for their results. And we thank both schools for an excellent presentation. We were very well entertained, we were very well educated, and we are inspired by your passion. Thank you very much. Okay, we will now move into the awards presentation. Okay, so just give us a minute. Okay, so I will ask Ms. Trudy Christian, the main organizer of the intersecondary school debate. She will now take the podium and will guide us on the awards part of the proceedings. Thank you very much. I believe my services end right here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Seja. And now for the fun part, getting some prizes, right? Congratulations to the Dominica Grammar School, and of course to a hard-fought runner-up, hard-fighting runner-up, the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School. We will start with presenting some awards to the runners-up from the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School. We would like to call up first Miss Kiana Aaron to receive her token, and of course the representative from the Dominica Social Security. We can give out those prizes simultaneously to the runners-up, both the trophies and the prizes from the Dominica Social Security. So Miss Kiana Aaron of the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School. Let's do this first, and then we'll hand over from Dominica Social Security second. And to Mr. Alex Stedman, who was, by the way, the only boy standing in, in the semi-finals of the inter-secondary schools debating competition. We had one gentleman. So let us really applaud him and his effort as he receives his consolation prizes. Mr. Stedman, we do applaud taking one for the team, the men, the boys, and we want to see more young men, of course, participate in debate. Our photographers and our media people are tough, boy. Okay, you have to be in the correct position. Yes, thank you so much. And let us now present the prize to the best speaker, who this afternoon is Miss Michaela Benjamin of the Dominica Grammar School. And this afternoon, Miss Benjamin will be awarded a prize, compliment shams, eats and treats. And so hopefully she can maybe share that prize. Congratulations to Miss Benjamin. And I call upon now Miss Lydia Charles to join Miss Benjamin as we present the prizes to the winning team, the Dominica Grammar School. And of course, the Dominica Social Security also presents to the winning school a plaque and prizes. So you can, yes. And students, well, and teacher, the plaque has to be returned for inscription of Dominica Grammar School's name on it. Okay? Thank you. So winners, we meet you in the finals. Now there's a coach who will be leaving this competition at this juncture from the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, Mrs. Kellyanne Stedman. And today's her birthday, so we also want to tell her happy birthday. She had to put in some hard work on her birthday. She's leaving the competition, and we want to give her a token so that she can now relax after all the hard work of her participation in the inter-secondary schools debating competition. Thank you, Mrs. Stedman. And we do hope you have a very nice rest of your birthday. To the coach of the Dominica Grammar School, who is moving on to the finals, we're not giving you a reward yet. You have to continue the work for one more round. And of course, the Dominica Grammar School is the reigning champion, having won last year's inter-secondary schools debating competition. Now, we'd like to give our judges a token of appreciation and our moderator. Without the judges and the moderator, this afternoon could not have worked. So I'd like to first call upon Miss Merita Hyacinth to receive a token. Thank you so much, judges. Miss Mariage Emmanuel. And a little story, Mariage is the only person I know sharing my name. My middle name is Mariage. She's the only person to have a special, special affection for Mariage, because that's the only person I know with my name. I believe she was named after me. That's what I say. All right, and the Chief Judge, Mr. David Edwards. Thank you, Mr. Edwards, and for always saving me when I'm in a tight spot. Thank you so much. And of course, to our moderator, Ms. Indira Senja, thank you as well for always stepping in when you are needed. Thank you so much. So that is the end of our prize giving ceremony. We have one last thing to do. There is one slip remaining, the topic for the finals. The Wesley High School will be competing against the Dominica Grammar School in the finals on April 14th. The Wesley High School has already chosen their side of the topic because they won their debate a little bit earlier. So right now there's one slip remaining. I'd like to ask Miss Lydia Charles to step forward and reveal what the Dominica Grammar School will be debating on April 14th.
Dominica should amend its Sexual Offences Act to allow limited publication of the identities of accused sexual offenders in the public interest. And we are proposing.
I see people are still digesting. Okay, we'll allow you to digest further and we'll meet you at the finals. Good afternoon, everybody, and do have a good afternoon. Oh, yes. And there are some refreshments. They'll be distributed